This is the video for your first exercise after having installed Docker on your system. Now, I do trust that you are able to operate an unzip tool and to rename some folders. So let me just demonstrate what I've done here. I have installed or unzipped everything into my home DevOps folder, and there you see Tomcat and Wildfly. This is exactly the content from the zip file from the exercises zip. Now the exercise continues to ask us to inspect the Docker Compose file in Tomcat. I'll just close Wildfly so that we can go without it. Now if you look at the Docker Compose file, you'll see various services in here, and the exercises ask us to look at the Liferay Tomcat 1 service, which is just this one. Now what do we see here? We see an image name, we see a container name, we see what it depends on with a few commented sections. So these will be activated later when we are actually building a more sophisticated environment. We will be working within a network, which is the same network that will also have, for example, our MySQL installation in, and we're mapping port 8081 on the host to port 8080, which is the standard Tomcat port within this container. For convenience, we've also activated the GoGo shell within Liferay, which means we will use it on port 11311 or 11311. For persistence, in Docker, the containers are typically not persistent, which means we need to store our data somewhere, and we do so within this volume Liferay Tomcat data. Next up, this exercise asks us to look at the MySQL container. We see it's connected to the same network, and we see some environment variables where we basically fix the password, and another volume because after all, we want some data in our database to be persistent, so we need to mount that as well. Now, next thing you are asked is to look at Liferay Tomcat's Docker file. So Liferay Tomcat's Docker file is here. What do we see in here? We see that we are based on a standard OpenJDK file or image. This is being downloaded from the repositories, and then we have several environment variables, some commands which we use to modify the base build. So among others, we update, we install a few extra tools, we'll create a new user account, a group account, create a home directory, and then we change the ownership. Now, with this, we also unzip the classic Tomcat bundle with Liferay, copy a few configuration files and the license file or the so-called activation key. And with that, we are able, or we will be able to finally run Tomcat. That's it. That's all we need in order to just run everything, to build the container and to run the container. And let me do so. The exercise asks us to open a new container or command prompt, which I have already done. And I'm already, as you can see here, within my DevOps and Tomcat directory. And in here, I just type docker compose build Liferay Tomcat 1, which will build the appropriate containers. Now that this is built, we can start the container. And you see that the dependencies are automatically met. We have declared we depend on MySQL, which means MySQL, we didn't build the container yet, so it's built automatically, again, by fetching from the appropriate repositories. And the container is starting. Now, while the container is starting, the exercises or the written material tells us how we can easily go in there and look at the server. There we are, Docker compose logs. And here we can see what happens while our Liferay is starting for the first time. Now, the very first time of starting Liferay actually takes a while. So I'll leave this running for a bit and look at the result. Now, once Liferay has started up, you will find it, remember the port mapping on localhost 8081 on your computer. So I'm now signing in, and signing in works with the default credentials, which are test@liferay.com, and the password is test. And as you can see here, my browser has already remembered that I changed my password in the past when I went through this course once. Now let me make this a little bit larger. So yes, we gotta agree to the terms of use. And then we gotta set the password reminder query because this is the default configuration. And you can see here that the very first time Liferay ever starts up, a lot of things need to be done in the background. That is, some of the JSPs, the Java server pages, need to be compiled and brought into the system. So that takes a while upon the first start, and we will configure it to be a little bit faster, or actually it will be faster later on subsequent starts. Now, congratulations, you have completed the installation of Liferay in your own and first, at least in this course, Docker image and Docker container.